Plenty to build on from Oregon State's opening loss to Minnesota. Daryl Garrettson shined, Ryan Nall got rolling, and the defense showed some swagger. But there's plenty to clean up. An early bye week, the perfect chance to do it. We'll break it all down for the next half hour with head coach Gary Anderson. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
And welcome in. The Oregon State Beavers may have the week off, but we do not. We press on and the season rolls on. Along with Giant Killers quarterback Steve Priest, I'm Dusty Hara. Thank you for being with us as Coach Gary Anderson will join us in a few short moments. But Steve, where we got to start is the opening week loss to Minnesota last Thursday, 30-23. A lot of growth, though, in that opening week defeat.
Dusty, I saw the cleanest practice pregame I've seen probably in years at Oregon State the day before the game. There were no mistakes. They looked like they were ready to play football, looked like they knew exactly what was going on, and they played like it. The problem is moral victories just don't count. The Beavers need wins. That's got to come soon. One
of the things that kind of fueled the Beavs really to jumpstart the offense was definitely the screen game, and that's our damn good moment presented by Flat Tail Brewing. They found a way to get the ball going when they couldn't get it on the ground early in the game.
Well, you saw that pass rush, and the quickest way to stop a pass rush is that little swing screen. You see it again here. Look at Garrettson, how he gets rid of the ball over 3 rushers, and Ryan Nall has had a ton of yards in that first half. Both big drives were set up by the swing screen.
You know, that's an important thing, too, is having the confidence in your quarterback to dump the ball over the top of those defenders, because that's a dicey throw right there. You got to have a lot of confidence in yourself to put it right over the top, and that's something that the Beavs just didn't have last year.
Absolutely, and I think, Dusty, you said it earlier in the week, too. It's a running game of sorts. You know, you get it out quickly, and you don't have to knock people down, so it's a good move.
It wasn't the only bright spot of the Beavers offense. There were plenty bright spots as we head over. Let's take a look at one that you earmarked from early in the game, a big-time throw from the quarterback, Daryl Garrettson.
Well, there were plenty of big-time throws from Daryl Garrettson, and there were some excellent plays. The Beavers didn't have a lot of time to throw, so you had a key third down, and do notice that. 3rd and 4, here's the first down, and they bring in a 2-by-2. 2 receivers over there, 2 receivers over here. Remember, Minnesota is a good defense, and you are going to get pressure here for sure with these men up front. This 50 guy, he's going to go 2 for sure. So what you've got is a man-on-man coverage outside, man-on-man coverage there, and these receivers are going to run combinations to get somebody here for a first down. Let's take a look and see how it comes out. Watch particularly Seth Collins at the bottom of the screen. Turn right there and stop. Collins gets to the first down marker right here. This guy's open, not quite deep enough, but it pulls the receiver or defensive back up there. Excellent job by Jordan Villamine up at the top. He takes 2 receivers. You've got an open man here. Bolden can get the first down, no question about it. But Garrettson finds the right man. Look at this and watch Seth Collins, who's just become a receiver. Watch the way he screens out the defensive back. Great throw, catches the ball, first down. That summarized what Garrettson did a lot this week. He was 25 for 40. 3-0, I think, with touchdown to interceptions. A great day for a guy who hasn't played for a year and a half.
And that's one of the things that you get when you have a 4th-year quarterback who's a junior. I mean, that's one thing. The quick, decisive read, delivers a strike, first down, and drive stays alive, huh?
Made it look easy.
Made it look very easy. You know, the guy that makes it look easy as well is the quarterback under pressure. When Daryl Garrettson has receivers that he can trust downfield, he wanted to get the ball downfield. It wasn't always easy for him, though, as he was trying to throw the ball under duress a large portion of the game.
And he took a lot of punishment, Dusty. I mean, he was sacked 4 times. 2 of them cost the Beavers a football game. They were turned into fumbles, and you see one of them right there. Became touchdowns for the Minnesota Gophers. The Beavers have to cinch that up some way. The offensive line play was probably the thing that hurt me most watching this Beaver team. It just wasn't good. They're going to play tough defenses all year.
It's going to be one thing that we try and see is a little bit of growth. We saw a lot of growth last year from the offensive line as the weeks went on and the games went on, obviously kind of culminating with the Civil War and Ryan Nall's just breakout performance against the Ducks. Which everybody seemed to have a breakout performance against the Ducks, but it was one of the better performances from the line. From this starting point, though, they're light years ahead of where they were last year, week 1.
No question about it. And TJ Wood, the offensive line coach, co-coordinator, he does a great job. He will have the people there. They're thin. That's the biggest problem right now with the offensive line. They don't have a lot of people to come in with injuries. You got Sean Harlow, remember, who is out. They don't know whether he's going to be back or not. They lost Ciamalo early to the draft. This could be a pretty good offensive line if they had all their players.
We're just getting underway. Coming up later, we will take a look at Ryan Nall. He picked up right where he left off at last season, running hard and trucking defenders. But coming up next, it's the head coach himself. Gary Anderson sits down with us. Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on.
I thought Darryl did a very good job. You know, he did have to go to getting the ball out quicker. He knew that. He understood that as the game went on. And you know, you're not going to find a tougher kid than that. So he'll stay in there and he'll fight like crazy. And he didn't just get hit; he got drilled numerous times. And to take those shots on 2 turnovers and then come in there and hang in there and stick some of those balls in there that he did. You know, the one to Vic was a great pass. The play there to Seth to get the first down and get us moving down the field. Definitely a toughness to that kid that I already know about. And a lot of us, again, on the staff know about that. And he will keep fighting. He'll keep battling. And he'll lay it all out there on the field. I'm proud of the fight. I'm proud of the hurt that showed in their faces after this football game, which is important.
That is Beavers head coach Gary Anderson following the week 1 loss to Minnesota. We can not just watch him on a podium anymore. We can just bring him right on in. He's joining us live from Corvallis. Coach, thanks for being with us this evening. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, guys. How are you?
Well, we're great, Coach. How hard is it to keep this bye week right here after a tough loss like that, and you got a second week bye? Is there something special you have to do to keep these kids rolling this second week when it comes so quickly?
No, and there shouldn't be. Set a plan out for them very clearly as soon as we got back and started things on Monday morning, and that plan was to teach players, coaches, all of us as a whole, understand where we sat. Like I said, after the game, that loss hurt, and that's where you want your team to be when they suffer a tough defeat. There's so much you can learn from a victory. There's so much you can learn from a defeat. But when it's a close defeat, you can learn even more about those critical situations, because we haven't tasted victory much, and the opportunity to taste victory comes to making plays at the end of the day, and that involves coaches and that involves players. So these kids accepted the plan very well this week. They've practiced well. They've come back. We've had some very good team meetings, some very good unit meetings as far as educating ourselves with each other. And again, we're at the point to work to take the next step on fine-tuning our craft and understanding that we have to become experts. And you know, that's where we sit. So they've handled it well, and we'll continue to grow.
Coach, we watched Darryl Garretson and the different kinds of throws he made. He threw deep, he threw for a touchdown deep, he threw so many short passes, the swing screens and the short passes. I don't think people appreciate how difficult those passes are to throw with 3 people in your face and running backwards. Talk about his ability to make every throw.
Well, Darryl's a tremendous competitor, and anybody that watched him for the first time was able to see that. And he can make all the throws. He's going to manage the offense still and work hard to put us in the spots to be able to keep moving the chains down the field and bottom line score points. But the best thing about Darryl is he'll quickly point the finger at himself, which I think is important for a leader of a football team, and he'll also point the finger at his teammates as needed and to help them continually get better. But Darryl hung in there in a tough physical game. You don't want you to say that about your quarterback, that he played in a tough physical game, but he absolutely did. And he popped up and came back and made some plays. He made some plays when people were in his face. He dumped it into pressure a couple times, did a nice job of getting out there and using the screen game like you said. So it was a good first step for Darryl. He expects more of himself, which is why he's here, is to help us win games.
We saw the focal point of the offense at the end of last season was Ryan Nall, who kind of stormed onto the scene. It looked like you guys were trying to get him established very early on in the game, and it was kind of tough, but he's more versatile than I think a lot of people who just look at him would think he's just a big bruising downhill back. You guys got him involved in the screen game quite a bit. Talk about his development as a receiver out of the backfield to complement his running abilities.
Well, there's no better way to slow down a pass rush than have a screen game and then work in some draws and some different scenarios to slow down pass rushers. And that was definitely part of the game plan. As we went through time, we had to throw a few more screens and make that be a part of our offensive weapon. And we had those obviously in the arsenal, but they became more of a forefront with our ability to not protect as well as we wanted to. And I think that Nall has shown that when Ryan gets out there and he gets in space, he can cause some problems. He's definitely a good reader of the backfield and playing with leverage and playing with angles when he gets into the second level of the defense. He scores on the one if we're able to just make one block downfield, but we were able to make that, so it ended up being a really nice play instead of a touchdown. So we want more out of it. Ryan wants more out of himself. I thought he ran the ball hard. He ran the ball physical. We continually look for that next guy to really step up and have that game that makes us all so that we all step back and say, yep, there's that second back. That's still unclear to me.
Coach, the entire running game, we only ended up with 89 yards. Now, we had some sacks in there and so forth, but what do you have to do, and does the extra bye week give you some help in doing something to give the offensive line some breather and make them a better unit so we can get something more out of the running game?
Well, I think if you take away the negative plays, the running game would be a positive, but you can't do that in football. It all counts. And, you know, on the other side of the ball, you look at it and you take away, I think by stats, Minnesota had 3 point some odd per carry, but we know that was more than that because they snapped the ball over their head a couple times. And so you look at the run game on both sides, and both defenses, I think, did some good things at times. Both offenses did some good things at times. But we have got to be a team that becomes multi-dimensional again within our personnel groups, within our scheme, and then we've got to be able to hang our hat on what we're going to do well. And we are going to be a zone blocking team, and we've got to be able to knock some people off the ball. We'll have some misdirection in there with some powers and some counters and things. We've got to have Seth back there to do some things, not just to run the ball, but to have the true triple threat of option football coming at people. Hopefully that'll open up the run game more as we continue to move forward. But we expect every week to get better on the offensive line as a group of coaches, and I guarantee they expect that as a group of players. So it's a progress. Again, the challenge is always to teach, and the challenge is to do your best as a coach to put the kids in a position that physically they have an opportunity to have success. And those are the things we look at every single week.
We're just getting underway with Coach Gary Anderson as we got the defensive backs to get to. The defense had some swagger returning. Gary Anderson continues with us. It's Beavers Inside the Huddle. Though his time was short and sweet with the Oregon State Beavers, his mark may be long-lasting in the NFL. Kyle Peko, the 53rd man on the Denver Broncos roster, going to be making a name for himself in the NFL. It's just about getting there and how long you can hang on in the NFL. And Coach Gary Anderson joins us live from Corvallis. Coach, Kyle Peko, along with Isaac Seumalo, both making NFL rosters. Your first Beavers in the NFL. You've had guys go to the NFL before. What about those two guys sticking in the NFL? As you confident that there's just going to be two more Beavs in the league for a long time?
Well, I sure hope so. You know, Isaac, I felt very confident from what we heard from camp and brief discussions with people that he did a great job from the beginning till the end. And sounds like to me he's going to play a bunch, and I expect him to be there for a long, long time. And with the health issues and the scenarios he'd had, he's a great story of just grinding through it, keep fighting, don't lose sight of your dream. And he did that. And I was a support. I'd love to have him here playing for us right now. Obviously, we all would. But with his history, he made the right decision. If you look at Kyle, you know, Kyle is a great story, which I shared with the team the other day, and I'm sure Kyle wouldn't mind if I shared the story with you briefly. But Kyle's made the 53-man roster. He's done it the hard way to get onto an NFL team. He did it the hard way in college because would have been a lot better for him. His paycheck would be a little different right now if he had 2 years of college football underneath his belt. So I think it's a great learning opportunity, again, of fighting, not losing sight of your dreams, continuing to grind. but don't make it harder than it has to be. You know, Kyle could be in a situation where he had 12, 13 more games underneath his belt, but it didn't take place. It didn't stop him. But I want our kids to understand that, hey, let's start right. Let's do it from the beginning and not dig us a hole that we have to crawl out of. But I'm very proud of both of those young men. Talked to Kyle yesterday and told him I told that story to the team, and he was all in favor of that, but he's happy. He got a big smile on his face, that's for sure.
Hey, Coach, let's keep talking about defense with Kyle Pecco. This defense, 298 yards of total offense they gave up. Now, granted, there were a couple of snaps over the head, but they played very good football, and Coach Clune really had people moving in the right spots. Defensive backs particularly, I thought, were aggressive, played the pass really well. This was a very fine first effort for that defense.
It was. If you look at some things in the bottom line is the points, which is high. We gave up. We weren't good on sudden change, which was a negative. They got 14 points on the 2 turnovers. We weren't good enough on third downs and crucial third downs. If we could take those away, we would have had a very good defensive outing. Unfortunately, again, you can't take those things away, but there's some bright spots to teach from. I thought the middle of the defense was solid in the run game. Our perimeter game needs to be better within the tackling and playing with angles, trusting our teammate that he is going to arrive on time when I'm leveraged to the outside or whatever may come our way in those settings at certain situations. But they ran to the ball. They were tough. They were physical. I believe their communication has improved. They're definitely speaking the same language, which is a good thing to see. And, you know, they played against a very experienced football team, from a quarterback to an offensive line to some tight ends that are very good players and experienced. And it was good to see them fight through 4 quarters and keep battling. And quite frankly, expecting themselves to find a way to win the football game. At the end, it didn't happen, but it was a step in the right direction. 298 yards. If you do that in this league week in and week out, you know, you'll be special defense. So hopefully that trend continues, but the third downs need to get better, and so does the sudden change defense.
You know, Coach, you mentioned one thing. You mentioned the physical. And physicality is something you can talk about all offseason long, but you never know what you're going to get once a game starts and once you kick off. You know, when did you know that this team didn't just look different, but they were going to be playing different for 60 minutes of football? Was it really right when the game kicked off, or were there signs of it that this was a really physical football team during training camp?
Well, I thought they handled themselves with a good physical nature against each other, and which was a good sign without question. And I knew going into this first game that it was going to be a very physical football team, and I felt like they handled the side of the physicalness of that game very well also. So that's week 1. That's a huge step in the right direction as far as being able to get in there and compete against a physical football team for 4 quarters. Now you've got to do it by fighting through a little adversity, obviously as a loss. You have to be able to be tough and physical, mentally and physically, when you win, when you lose, and when things are just okay. So that'll be the test as we continue to move forward. The signs of practice this week would lead me to believe that they're prepared to get physical again in game number 2, and then we'll move on from there.
Will you see another 327-pound average offensive line with a 275-pound 6'10" tight end again this season?
Probably not. Those kids were some pretty dang good football players, and you know they've got so many miles on them too. Which, Steve, as you know, those miles that those kids have had are invaluable when it comes to experience. And you see that Minnesota team play, and they play the right way as far as handling adversity, understanding the situations that they're in. There was 3 or 4 opportunities we had to make big plays to go up 14-0 in that game. We self-destructed at times in those scenarios, whether it was a possibility of making a great catch, having a penalty that didn't need to be called, having an opportunity to get a ball down the field when we got hit and we got sacked. Those are big opportunities, and Minnesota made those plays at the end. Offensive line was part of that, obviously, but as a team, they stay steady Eddie and they just keep on swinging. So that's why they're where they are. They're a mature football team.
Oregon State Beavers undefeated all time against BYE University, right? The bye week, getting healthy down in Corvallis. Coach Anderson, thank you so much for taking time with us yet again, and join us. We'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate the time, guys. Go Beavs.
See you later, Gareth. Same.
Take care.
The show rolls on. We still got to get our keys to the bye week, Steve. That's the thing. We have them, and we'll give them to you next. We got more football than you know what to do with here on CSN. Saturday, it's CSN Game Day, 9 a.m. Wednesday, Talkin' Beavers, 7 o'clock. And then us next Thursday, Inside the Huddle. Coach Anderson going to be joining us again at 8:30. We did that just for you, Steve. We took away the evil guys from Eugene's. As we go to their schedule is online as well if you're into that kind of thing. It's our Honda Keys the Game, brought to you by your Northwest Honda dealers. My first one, get healthy. Ryan Nall looked like he took a beating. And then stay healthy, because that's easier said than done. And then 3, alignment and assignment defensively and on the offensive line. It seemed like there were a few breakdowns here and there. Just getting lined up and getting ready to go. I think if you shore those things up this week, you're going to be good against Idaho State.
Pretty creative. Get healthy, stay healthy. What a chicken way out of that.
It's the keys to life.
Mine, there was the same thing. We did this independently. I believe they got to get healthy too, but they really have got no key injuries right now. So the Beavs just have to get better. Perfect assignments. There were a few missed assignments, particularly in the offensive line that I saw. Gary talked earlier about the defensive line too. They got work to do. And again, work on offensive line play. They simply have to be able to run the football to be successful in this league, to be successful in Gary Anderson's system.
Hopefully they stay healthy in number 2 and 3 this week, huh?
That's true.
Hopefully they get number 1, then 2 and 3 will find their way to stay healthy, huh?
I agree.
We'll be back to preview Idaho State with Gary Anderson next week, every Thursday, 8:30, right here on CSN. It's Beavers Inside the Huddle.